Hey, how's everyone doing? Good to see you again. Once again, thank you for the comments and the likes and the loves. I appreciate that. I hope this information is helping you out. Hope that you found a good use for it or will find a good use for it in the future. Well, hopefully you won't find a good use for it, right? But if you need it, hopefully, it'll be there for you. Or, you know what I'm saying, right? Okay, so I was thinking about what we could talk about today, and I was like, well, back problem's a good one. What else, right? What else? What kind of problems do people get? A lot of problems that I see kind of relate to the shoulders a lot. So there's this condition called Carpal Tunnel Syndrome out there, and there's actually a couple of them. They're like carpal tunnel, okay? Usually carpal tunnel is kind of something else, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But before we dig into that today, before we learn on how to get out of that one, I want to tell you a story about carpal tunnel syndrome, because I had it. Actually, so long ago I had this, okay? But I remember it distinctly because it was not fun. No good. Didn't like it. And I would hate to see anybody else in that situation. So here we go. So here's my story. I was working in an office, okay? One more thing. A lot of these conditions that I'm telling you how to get out of are, I had them. I had them at one point in time and had to figure out how to get out of them, okay? And sometimes one thing worked for it, like, let's say, massage therapy, right? But sometimes that wasn't enough. Sometimes I would have to bring in these other components and other things, okay, to get out of these situations. Now, when you do that, that's you're growing. You're actually growing in this process, okay, because you're kind of unraveling karma on a really deep level. And what's really happening is when you're going through this process is you are becoming more whole and centered. Your energy is becoming more focused. And so that's why as you go forward in this path, your just energy level kind of goes up, okay? Yeah, you still go through a process of aging to some extent, but maybe I'll talk about that someday. We'll see. But anyways, so back to this carpal tunnel story, okay? I was working in an office. The year is 2001, somewhere in there. It's like around 9/11. Remember those days? Ooh, sorry I brought that back. Okay. Let's pretend it didn't happen. Okay. So I was living in Washington during the time, and I was working in an office. I used to work in healthcare. I was something called a patient advocate at the time. And that is somebody who goes around and gathers data from patients, helps them fill out these applications so they can get funding from various sources for their procedures that they receive at the hospital. And that's a lot of paperwork, okay? So there's a lot of paperwork, and my mouse, I'm thinking what it was is my mouse, okay? But anyways, over time, doing the office work, one day, this is how it really came into focus. I was always having some kind of shoulder thing going on, but one day I went to grab a piece of paper, and it just slipped through my fingers, okay? Like this, look at this mat here. You see this mat? Imagine it's like a piece of paper. I couldn't hold it like two fingers, like I'm doing here. Couldn't hold that. I'd be like, and just like slip through my fingers, and then I would try it, and I'm like, what the hell, right? Wouldn't you freak out if all of a sudden you couldn't hold a piece of paper with two fingers? Come on, man, right? And so I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I think in the elbow is really where I started to feel it. And then, it went unchecked and not unchecked, but undealt with. And it evolved to the point where now it's affecting the nerves and I can't hold a piece of paper. Okay. I don't know if I ever really got symptoms in the wrists, like physical ones that I could feel, but the weakness, and that's a big characteristic of having that kind of symptom or that kind of syndrome. Okay. Now, in my world of massage therapy, that's something we deal with a lot, and we're pretty successful at treating it. It's probably one of the things that massage can treat really well, actually. A lot of times people will get surgery for it because the carpal tunnel stuff will a lot of times be connected to your shoulder stuff, okay? But the roots of the carpal tunnel stuff, most of the time is in the neck, okay? So think of how tight a person's neck gets over time, right? Some of the biggest sections of nerve tissue that you have that are branching up from your spine are up in your neck, like your cervical plexus, okay? Or I can't remember if it's brachial plexus, I think that might be what it is. Anyways, you have a massive network, right, of nerves kind of going out to the arms. Okay. And so if all that tension starts, so remember we talked about the back yesterday and what happens after the tension works its way to the back, how it affects the spine, how it clamps it down. Well, that can happen up here too, okay? It can also draw the shoulders in. Remember how we talked about the knots? Remember this one? And how it's like the connective tissue is pulling the knots like that, right? All that stuff can eventually, it's going to get to a point where it starts putting pressure on those nerves, okay? In the beginning, because this is a slow process. Remember, some of these things take years before you actually start feeling it maybe here, right? So on your way from being where you were to having the carpal tunnel situation going on that transition, you might go through neck pain, neck stiffness, something like that. And then all of a sudden that might disappear, like you didn't get a massage or anything, just disappears. And then all of a sudden you might just have a shoulder thing, okay? And then that shoulder thing might go on for a while, and then next thing you know, that shoulder thing disappears, and now you have maybe an elbow thing or a wrist thing. And so anyways, what's happening is it's kind of working its way around your body, okay? We call it a compensation pattern. So let me give you an example, kind of dry it out for you. So I'm tight here, right? And my shoulders are like this, but when I raise my arm now, it hurts when I get to a certain level, right? So I stop raising it there. To that level. And then I might find another way to get it higher. I might now lean back more to try to get it higher, as opposed to just lifting my arm straight up, right? I might just do this and then try to lift my back. Well, all these little adjustments that you make in your movements to compensate for lack of range of motion, they kind of pile up on each other over the years. And then at some point in time, because it's not a very solid structure that you've built it on, it collapses to some degree, okay? And then you kind of have to work with it from that standpoint. But it's not as bad as it sounds, really. But that's what happens. You get tense, it starts clamping down on these nerves, and then over time, eventually it starts affecting your hands. You can feel it in your shoulders. That's another one. That's another area you might feel it. If you feel anything with like the shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand, or chronic headaches, probably check the neck. You probably have tremendous amounts of tension in your neck. A lot of times you'll feel it, like you try to move somebody's neck and the joints are just like locked down. There's no subtle articulations that are supposed to be happening through that section of your spine. Okay, and that's just because of tension. That's a lot of times it's because of tension. And the tension can come a lot of different ways, like we talked about. It could come from trauma, car accidents, something like that. That's a pretty common one. Just stress over time too. So it could be as simple as that. It can be very complex. Can be so complex that its detail reaches very deep into the quantum subspaces, which now you're kind of dealing with karma stuff at this point. And we can talk about that too sometime. But let's see. We'll start here. We'll start at like this level of it, okay? Because it's exciting. This stuff is very exciting, actually. It's, believe it or not, it's the future. But at the same time, it's also the past. And that makes it very interesting because it has this timelessness about it. It's like gold. It's unaffected by time. And the reason why is because it's the truth. The truth doesn't change. Time doesn't change the truth. You know what I mean? It's always solid. It's always going to be there. It is one of the most, you could say consistent, but it's I guess it's the truth, and the truth is eternal. I guess that's just how it works. Okay. All right. So to fix this, to come out of this condition, you have to take the tension out of the neck, right? We got to get some articulation going back here. There's another subcomponent to this too that is often missed, okay? So if you look at a person from the side view, okay, this is where you're gonna have to see this one. So you have to look at them from the side. If their shoulders are pulling them forward, right, they need to be stacked like this. See how my chest is a little more forward? You have to keep the chest up a little bit, okay? The reason you have to keep the chest up a little bit is to set the shoulders in the right position. Then when you go and you move them, and you should feel the back also engaging when you move your shoulders. Okay, if you're not feeling the back engaging when you're moving your shoulders, maybe just try to keep your chest up a little bit more, just slightly, go by super small increments until you can just start to feel those. And these muscles on your back, they don't have to contract really hard and really, you just want to feel them working. And they should be working because your shoulders support both sides, right? So you should feel that. Okay, so to keep your chest up like this can be a little bit of a challenge too if you have tension in the stomach. So do you remember our conversation yesterday about relieving back pain? And at some point in time, you're going to have to go into the stomach to release that tension. Well, a big reason why you're going to have to go to the stomach to release that tension is so that you can actually get your chest up the right way. And when that tension is gone, when that tension's out here, it doesn't really feel like you're working so hard, because if the tension is there and you're just forcing yourself to be up like this, in a way you're kind of working against yourself at the same time. So you want the body to be set efficiently, not in a way where you're working against yourself, right? So that's why you want to get rid of the tension at some point there. Plus, another thing too is if you have that chronic tension and you try to force yourself into those positions, that can actually create more pressure in the back too at the same time. Just something to think about. So the stomach appears to be like a really good place to work on people. And you also have, think of all your organs in there and stuff like that too, because you're going to get like a little bit of organ massage. It would be like large intestine, small intestine massage, but that's still very good for a person. All right, well, I think that about covers it. It's all I can think of right now. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to cut you loose. Again, thank you for watching this. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And again, if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I can treat them as topics that we can talk about. And hope you have a wonderful evening. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.